So last year I decided to join Eric Admiri's Public Speaking Academy for one reason. And the reason was because I was so terrified of talking in public. Actually, I didn't even like talking in, like, let's say a group of 10 people. It will be uncomfortable for me, and to speak on stage, it was even something for me not to think about. I will do anything I can to get somebody else to do it for me. And when I heard about the academy, I was like, you know what, it's something I'm so afraid of. What's the worst can happen? And I joined. And to my surprise, during the days that we spent with Eric, it wasn't so much about just like preparing a presentation, because that's what I was preparing for. It was so much different. It was so much more. And it was a lot of activities or things that I would never do, like the things that really make me uncomfortable. And after the course, I won't tell you that now every time I get on stage, I don't get nervous. I still get nervous. But the one thing that transformed my life with that course is that we've done so much stuff that was so out of my comfort zone that I got used to it during those days. So I was fine with being out of my comfort zone. You know, I'll be afraid to get on stage, but I will deal with the fear and do it anyway. And that concept really changed my life. And it wasn't just like an idea, because we had to do things in front of people. There were still a lot of people. And that same year, I was asked to do a speech in front of 800 people. And to my surprise, I said yes. And I literally had a week to prepare for it. And of course, I was terrified to do it. But the minute I got on that stage and delivered and used the tools that Eric gave me, I delivered a beautiful speech. I got a standing ovation, and it was just incredible. And I did a second one, and I did a third one. So that's my testimony that academy really shifted me in so many ways. And I really advise anybody who not even afraid, you just want to perfect your speech or just be able to be out of your comfort zone in general, this is the place to start from. I always try to find simple ways to understand the person that I am. Sometimes I wish I can break myself into pieces so I can understand each piece and what it represents. Almost like playing with Legos. If I had to build a bicycle, let's say, with Legos, and I had the pieces spread on the floor, to start, I'll probably pick a simple piece, maybe a wheel or a steering handle, just because they're easy to find, easy to understand and put together. But I'll probably have a challenge when I reach the gears, because they're more complicated, they're not so easy to understand or to put together. And I might have the tendency to push them aside and play with other tiny pieces, but I know for a fact if I don't take the time to bring these gears back, understand them, and put them into the bicycle, that bicycle will not start moving. Now let's imagine we had to build a person, and we had all the pieces spread on the floor. To me, the pieces will represent our stories. Some stories are like wheels. They're easy to understand and easy to share. And others are just like gears. They're more complicated, we don't understand them, and they're not easy to share. But just like that bicycle, if you remove an important part out of a structure, the structure is not complete. You know, it took us month to organize Mindvalley reunion. You can imagine the amount of organization and details that can come into an event like this. But the most difficult part for me was to actually just come and speak to you guys for simple 3 minutes. You see, I always identified myself as a shy person. I always been the girl in school who would be quiet even if I had all the answers. Or even if I'm in a meeting and had an amazing idea, I will hear that voice that tells me, maybe next time. And I didn't really have an issue with it until the day I was really frustrated because I couldn't stand up for myself in a situation. And that day, I remember I went back home, I grabbed a journal, and I wrote down, today I'm starting my own healing journey. I didn't even know what that meant because I didn't know what I was healing from. But I just started writing random shit. Anyways, so the more I wrote, I realized more stories were coming back to me. Stories that I've forgotten about from childhood, the stories that are more complicated, the stories that are not easy to understand or share. But that's exactly what I'm gonna do today, share a gear. Just because I know this is a safe space, first of all, and also I'm just hoping that I can open the space or the platform for you guys to trust each other and to share as you go through this journey this weekend. When I was a little girl, I used to have hiding places in the house, a lot of them actually. And those hiding places were not for me to play hide and seek with my siblings, but because I grew up into a situation where I had to deal with child molestation with a particular relative. And I was a little girl, so I didn't share it with anyone until one day. I remember I was a teenager, and we had some construction work happening, so the noise woke me up. I walk into my mother's bedroom, and I was washing my hands in her bathroom. And the next thing I know, I feel a presence behind me. So I turn around, and I realize it was one of the construction workers. And before I can do anything, the guy reaches out and touches me inappropriately. And for the very first time, I don't think, and I act. So I ran out, and I ran fast. And my feet landed me in front of my mother, so I told her the entire story. So my mother rushes to the room to speak to this guy and ask him, "What did you do?" And I was right behind her. And of course, he told her something between the lines, like it was an accident and what so on. And I was standing there, I didn't bother to explain myself because I knew, one, my mom would know better. And two, I was just thinking, oh my God, I finally spoke out for the first time in my life. And before I end that thought, my mom turns to me and says, "Don't say anything and just go to your room." So she actually didn't believe me. And I never thought that story ever affected me until the day I was writing these final words in my journal. And I realized those sentences my mom used, I used as my life mantras. I used them in school, I used them in meetings, and I used them throughout my life. And it was until that moment that I sat down and brought back that complicated story and just shared it with myself that I was able to come here and stand in front of you guys and share it. So what I would love to invite you guys to do this weekend as you enter this journey is to bring all your Lego pieces and throw them on the floor. You can pick a wheel or a seat, but with honest, pure vulnerability, I say the most transformation comes when you pick and share that gear. Thank you very much. Thank you.